From Tony Stark's laboratory, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two men still waiting for a reply to their Avengers applications, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
Actually, I had a different Avengers application. I wanted to be Steed because I want to meet Emma Peel. Corey, who sent that in?
That little tongue twister was brought to you courtesy of Stuart Moncure.
Thank you, Stuart. So we're back. It's 2015.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Absolutely.
Look at us.
And it's been a nice long layoff. Lots of things have happened. Mark, doesn't it feel like the world has completely transformed since we did our last show?
It really is true.
Seriously.
I think the reason why is because we didn't do. See, when we don't do a show, the world transforms.
It falls apart.
If we could just do a show,
I know.
The world would be a better place.
It was weird. I was getting all ready to come back and talk about the interview, and the interview feels like that's old.
It feels like 3 years ago.
It was like, the interview. Are you serious? That's going to come out on Blu-ray and DVD in a couple of months. Like, who cares anymore, man? It's over. It's done with. Nothing blew up. Kim Jong-un doesn't care anymore. He's moved on. He's torturing people. He's
He's happy.
He's happy. He's
He's happy torturing people and making sushi out of live fish. That's his father. His father used to do that.
I know.
He used to take the fish live and slice it up. What?
Wasn't that an amazing moment in time? That whole interview fiasco. It was like everyone completely lost their, they did. It's just like theaters flipped out, and next thing you know, you had to have, the Tim Leagues of the world and the Alamo Drafthouse hold up their hands and go, "I'm sorry, but is there an adult in the room anywhere? I mean, is this really happening?" And George Clooney wanted to get people to sign on, and now Chris Dodd is offering mea culpas. "Oh, I wasn't as forceful as I should have been with the MPAA statement." It's like, what's wrong with people?
That's all Monday morning quarterbacking.
I know it is, but it's crazy.
Well,
and then the Charlie Hebdo thing, and that ain't funny. We had a threat with the interview, but nothing followed through. It was hacking, and it was otherwise a whole lot of hot air. But, as far as, free speech assaults go, that's the one that now sort of puts everybody, the interview was a thing. It was a pop culture moment, and it turned out to be a whole lot of hot air. And we obviously still haven't gotten to the bottom of it, but Paris, man, that's a big deal.
What's funny is that the co-creator of Charlie Hebdo came out and said that the magazine did go too far.
You know what? Here's the thing. Here's where I come down on this, because I'm a free speech absolutist. I don't think there is such a thing as too far. If there's such a thing as too far, then just don't pay attention to it. You know what I mean? But there's no too far in the world as far as speech is concerned that justifies somebody picking up a Kalashnikov and gunning down 10 people or 12 people or 14 people.
But
it just doesn't. There's nothing that justifies that.
But you're saying that to people who have no concept or interest in free speech and constitutional rights and whatnot.
Well, that's the problem.
Well, and they're never. And the thing is that they're never going to. It's just not who they are.
Yeah, but
you know what? If you're the editor of your high school newspaper and you decide to take out a full page ad saying that the school bully is a big fat jerk and F him, and he beats you up, what do you expect? He's going to beat you up.
Then I expect him to be...
Oh, it's my free speech right. I called you a big fat jerk. He's going to beat you up. He'll beat the crap out of you.
I expect him to be arraigned on assault charges is what I expect. No, I mean, this is why we have things like international film festivals. You know what I mean?
It is?
This is why you have things like Cannes and Venice and Toronto and Berlin and Tokyo and Shanghai, major international film festivals, because that's where the world gathers and looks at movies and argues about them in a peaceful and civil way. And you and I both know Cannes Film Festival is not a place where everybody holds hands and sings Kumbaya and hugs and shakes. I mean, it's a place where Lars von Trier pops off and Spike Lee will completely lose his head. And it's a volatile place, and people will hate films and they will love films and they will say nasty things about them. But there's never a bomb threat at the Cannes Film Festival. Nobody ever says, "Don't show this film or else." I've been there when, for example, they screened Chinese films and Iranian films, and the filmmakers were not allowed to attend because the governments felt, we don't want to endorse this. I mean, there were even, negatives or prints were smuggled out of the country and smuggled into the festival. I mean, you have geopolitical events, but people understand that this is a nexus. This is where the exchange of ideas and thoughts happens in a civil, even if volatile way.
But that's a rarefied air
But
there. When you go to Cannes and you
sure,
go to.
but let's
how about that guy who did the Innocents of Muslims? Look at that guy. I mean, is that free speech?
That. Have you seen the film?
I mean, the film's a piece of crap. Obviously, look, the film was not meant to be a creative, artistic statement.
Yeah.
They hired actors who read dialogue that was completely innocent and then replaced with dialogue that was completely offensive to Muslims. Is that free speech?
Yep. Sure is. Look here. I remember going opening day to the Passion of the Christ, not the Passion of the Christ, the Last Temptation of Christ, the Scorsese film. And, there had been a big vigil the night before. Paul Crouch, the Trinity Broadcasting guy who died recently, he led a big march of, evangelical Christians around the block, and they were protesting it, and they were having a big old thing. And then I went there, because I said, I'm not going to have an opinion about this film until I've seen it. So I went in and I saw it, and there were some Catholic priests in there. And I was like, good for you, good for you. Come see the thing, see what everybody's talking about, have an opinion based on, an informed opinion, not a secondhand opinion. And afterwards, there were, there's some radio people out there. This was at the old ABC Entertainment Center before they turned it into the CAA Death Star. And
the Plitt Theater?
Well, I think it was already the Cineplex at the time. And there were radio people, with their little mics running around. They came up to me and asked me my opinion. And I, of course, was nobody at the time. I wasn't,
You're nobody now.
I'm nobody now. But it's not like, anybody would have known who I was or cared. And they asked me, what'd you think? And I said, I think it commits the worst sin of all, which is it's boring.
Well, they don't want to hear that.
Well, I know, but
you know what?
I thought it was clever. And in that moment, I thought, I think I have a career in talking into microphones.
I got to say, you know what? I was one of the first to see Fahrenheit 9/11.
Yeah.
Because it premiered at the 2002 Cannes Film Festival.
Sure.
And I had the same thing. Microphones coming at you saying, what'd you think? And here's what I said.
Yeah.
It committed the worst sin of all. It was boring.
Thank you. See, this is why we're here.
Exactly.
Okay.
And by the way, shut up. And by the way, and I'm going to use this as a transition to our Oscar conversation.
Yes.
Is I remember about 10 years ago when they decided to screen Birth of a Nation.
Uh-huh.
And people were up in arms that they were screening Birth of a Nation because how racist it is, and of course it's incredibly racist. But it also created the language of film that we continue to speak to this day, and it has enormous historical value.
True.
So that's something else. People were picketing outside the theater saying, "How dare you show this movie?"
When I taught film history, that was the first film that I had them watch before the first day of class, Birth of a Nation. Just let's talk. Let's get your emotions out there right on the surface.
But the problem with that film is that it commits the biggest sin of all. It was boring.
Thank you. So
let's be the runner for the whole.
How was the LAFCA evening?
LAFCA. So the LAFCA dinner. Here's the thing. I have
to say, I had more fun just sitting at my computer and just because I was at home. I didn't care to go. I had more fun sitting at my computer getting your texts than anything else. I
have to say,
hysterical.
Normally, even though we all vote our conscience, as we should,
yes,
I always judge the evening based on who would potentially show up for an award.
Right.
And except for the fact that I kind of wanted to see Tom Hardy because I think he's super cool, awesome, it was going to be a boring evening. I went myself.
Yeah.
Didn't take anybody. No, like a girlfriend or a date or some buddy, whatever. So I went myself, and let me tell you something. It was actually the first dinner I left early.
Yeah.
I left right before because it was so boring.
It was long, man.
It was long. Well, here's the thing. Tom Hardy was there. They announce him. He runs up from the side, accepts his award in about like a 30-second self-effacing speech about all he did was read the prompter and everybody else deserves credit. He said that, they left. Over. Then, a couple minutes later, I'm looking ahead of me, and I see this tall woman in a dark outfit dart across my view and sit down. I'm thinking to myself, is that Angelina Jolie? And I said, well, it can't be Jolie because we didn't give her anything.
Yeah.
And then a few minutes later, I forgot who was doing it. They presenting Jenna Rollins with our Lifetime Achievement Award. And it was actually, I think it was Stephen Farber, because Stephen told some story about meeting Jenna Rollins on an international flight, and she was very nice. So Stephen gives the initial remarks and then says, and here to present the award to Jenna Rollins is Angelina Jolie. And I have to tell you, she got up there, she gave a very nice speech, which you can see online, by the way. If you Google that, LAFCA, Jenna Rollins, Angelina Jolie, you can see that speech. It's online. But it put a charge in the evening.
Yeah.
Just the idea that here's a surprise visit from the biggest female celebrity in the world. It put a charge in the evening it desperately needed. Because if she didn't show up, people would have died of old age in that room. It was so boring.
would Angelina Jolie be as big a movie star as she is if her name were Hildegard Schwartzpot?
If it was Hildegard Schwartzpot, she would have changed it like they used to do.
Right.
Okay, would Kirk Douglas's... come on. Kirk Douglas's real name has so many syllables, I can't even... It's impossible.
It's true.
So anyway, that was very nice. Here's the thing with Jolie. Okay.
Yeah.
So she's leaving the room, right? Because she was there to give the speech and then left.
Yeah.
She walked right by me, right by me.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I don't find her that attractive. I think, on screen... I do not find her attractive. I think she is scary and humorless, and looks like she would bite your head off. Okay, I don't find her at all attractive. But I have to say, when she walked by me, beautiful.
Yeah,
very beautiful.
Yeah.
Very, very thin.
Yeah,
and very thin. And you can see that. I mean, God love her. She's 37, 39, and that's what happens. But there's a little bit of the crow's feet come. I get it. It's fine. Whatever. We all get older. But she was very beautiful.
Yeah. Well,
so I was very impressed, and that was it. And then the evening went on for about another 6 hours. And then I left. I couldn't take it anymore.
Well, it was your tweets were your texts were very funny, so I enjoyed it.
Because I was bored.
I know.
Although, to me, the highlight of the evening was that I ate a second dessert.
So, well, good for you. I always enjoy those desserts, the little tarty things.
Because here's what they do at the dinner. They put the desserts out when you initially sit at the table.
Yeah.
The dessert, which is obviously not ice cream, because it'll melt. It's some sort of a tart or something.
Tarty thing, yeah.
They put that out.
Yeah.
When you sit down, I guess is one less thing to serve, or looks pretty, whatever. So I ate and then I ate somebody else's.
Good for you.
Thank you. Which, by the way, could get us into our Oscar conversation.
Well, our Golden Globes and Oscar conversation. Golden Globes, of course.
The Golden Globes.
I know. I didn't watch the Globes.
Golden Globes is like the industry joke we all buy into because it's good for business.
Well, it's funny because the Globes kind of now are suddenly irrelevant once the Oscars come out. But here's what I find really, really interesting is the Oscar nominations came out. And as soon as and this is the first year they read all categories, right? JJ comes out, and read a bunch of categories, and then it was Chris Pine and the Academy.
Cheryl Boone
Isaacs, the Academy president, who read the rest.
Who said
what?
Dick poop.
That's right, Dick Poop, and that became the trend on Twitter for the day. That we're a nation of 12-year-olds, really. Anyway, and she giggled when she said it. I thought that was cute. But here's the thing, the thing that blew up was, oh my gosh, Ava DuVernay didn't get a nomination for Selma. Selma only got 2 nominations, Best Picture and Song. What happened? Bunch of racists, bunch of sexists, and it just everybody was completely going off. And I was on television and radio that day. I started getting calls off the hook. Ted Chen from Channel 4 schleps out to my house with the camera crew and the van and the whole thing to sit me down for about a 10-minute interview, which wound up being like 6 seconds when they finally ran it on the 5 o'clock news. And then I talked for about 10 minutes on the Peter Tilden show on KABC Radio that night. And here's the thing. Tell me if you agree or not. To actually pretend that the Oscars are quote unquote racist or sexist because they didn't nominate Selma is to suggest that somehow 6,000 people all get into one room with a Borg-like brain and say, let's screw over this movie. It didn't happen. The different categories are all nominated by branches. Okay, so individually that film failed to impress almost anybody except the body at large, which includes a lot of members at large who don't get to vote for the individual categories. Clearly, Paramount's decision not to send out screeners to guilds, which deprived of any guild awards, to critics groups, which probably didn't help it with the critics groups very much, even though critics made a stronger effort to go out and see it. You have fewer people in a critics group. Paramount didn't get any momentum coming out of the awards season beforehand. It got no BAFTA nominations. It got Spirit nominations. But it didn't. It was not sort of at the top of everyone's screener pile. Once suddenly Birdman and Boyhood and The Theory of Everything and Imitation Game, these are the films that are suddenly winning things, and they're getting on the top of people's piles, and people prioritize those films, and psychologically you put that in the front of your mind. I guarantee you, and I think I'm one of those that thinks Ava DuVernay should be in there. I think Selma's one of the best films of the year. I think it's a superb film. I think she should be in there. Frankly, I think Clint Eastwood should be in Best Director as well. But I think Paramount blew it by not sending out screeners. They failed to generate the momentum needed. If that exact same film, had been handled by Fox Searchlight or the Weinstein Company, it would have 6, 7, 8 nominations.
Oh, I agree.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I agree. 100%.
Yeah. So it's simply a matter of how you play the campaigning game. It's not a problem with the Academy, but at the same time, is there a problem with diversity in Hollywood? Of course there is. But just because Denzel Washington and Halle Berry, win Best Actor and Best Actress in the same year, does that suddenly fix the whole business? Of course not. But we get this in our minds that somehow the symbolism of the Academy Awards matters. And it doesn't really matter one way or the other. It speaks more to a lot of other moving parts. And it's upsetting on a certain level, but at the same time, the Academy Awards are a crapshoot every year. They really are.
Well, look, everything you just said, right?
Yeah.
With the screeners, and it didn't win the Guild Awards, and the individual members vote for their individual categories based on whatever. All that is way too complicated. Let's just scream racism, because that's easier. Okay. And we've got some time to kill on Fox News and CNBC and NBC and CNN and MSNBC tonight. That's really what it is. It's just the outrage machine right now is just it activates on just the slightest provocation, because that's the society we live in. We all want to go on Twitter and Facebook and say how outraged we are and get a bunch of likes, and it's just a bunch of crap.
Look, Kim Kardashian took her pants off.
Yay.
Okay, all's forgiven.
Exactly. So
anyway.
You know what's funny, though? Although it's funny, though, I will say this. Although I do think, and I might be wrong, because this whole thing about the screeners, and it got shut out of all the guilds and that kind of stuff. And I was very upset that David Oyelowo did not get nominated, because I thought he was freaking
fantastic.
Great. What's funny...
But who would you remove from the 5 that got nominated?
Bradley Cooper.
See, but he's great too.
He is good. He is good.
Timothy Spall didn't. Timothy Spall didn't get in there. Ralph Fiennes is in a movie that got 9 nominations, but none for acting. I mean, he's not in there. I mean, if you look at who didn't, even with Ava, like the 5 directors who are nominated are all really ace directors. Paul Thomas Anderson is not there. Clint Eastwood is not there. J.C. Chandor is not there. Most Violent Year didn't get any nominations.
I mean, that's wild.
When you look at the stuff that did not get nominated, it's not just Selma. There's a lot of stuff that, I mean, the Paul Thomas Anderson film, Inherent Vice, I didn't like it, but a lot of people did. And it got 1 nomination for screenplay, which I think should have gone to Most Violent Year. I mean, it's weird. Force Majeure, in foreign language film, didn't get a nomination. It's a crazy competitive year. It's like it's fine and well to say somebody should have been in that mix, but who would you remove? Somebody has to come in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And if you're arguing that we need to nominate African Americans or Mexican Americans or Chinese Americans because we must have diversity, then that's a train wreck. You can't have that.
Look, I think we need to make better movies. Period. That's my mantra for the season. I'm going to be on the KPCC Film Week Oscar show, and I'm going to say the same thing. We need better movies. If making more diverse movies or having more roles for black actors means that we're going to have Big Mama's House 5, that's not a price I'm willing to pay. I think if you have better movies, the diversity and the richness follows in the wake of that. Making better movies means taking more risks. And taking more risks means thinking outside the box. And if you start doing that, then the problem for and I'll kind of leave the point here, but the problem where black actors are concerned, and Asian actors and Hispanic actors and all non-white actors as far as the Academy Awards, if you look at the Oscars historically, how many of them win for parts that are race neutral? You have Denzel Washington in Training Day, you got Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost, but otherwise they win for parts that are specifically black or specifically Asian.
Sidney Poitier,
but even then, that's a very much a race-centered part.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's the problem is that even Denzel Washington, who transcends race now, he can play the Equalizer even though he's not white and English. He can replace George Clooney in the Robert Zemeckis film in Flight. Angelina Jolie can replace Tom Cruise in Salt. I mean, we have people who have transcended that, but they have to work so much harder to get to that place. And it's not about getting roles for more people of color, for women, and so forth. It's about getting the people who make the movies to feel okay about thinking about many of these parts in a race-neutral way. Because most parts really are race-neutral. If you've got a part for a cop or a doctor or an attorney or a judge or whatever, but in most cases, there's nothing that says that has to be a white person. But that's the default position psychologically because that's what they think audiences respond to. You take them away from that risky behavior, they'll start taking chances, and they'll start looking outside the box. And that's where I think people need to go. So
Well,
that's my serious discussion for the day.
But for some of those movies, unfortunately, there's really only a handful of minority actors who are big enough to be able to carry a film and make the studio feel confident enough that they're going to get their money back. Once you get to, Denzel Washington, and we'll wait for Idris Elba to become James Bond, and he'll become huge. But otherwise, there's really not a lot of, you'll give it to the Tom Hanks and the Tom Cruise. And again, we're also forgetting the fact that right now it's not even a movie star era. It's a comic book character era.
That's true.
And some of the look, a lot of the comic book characters are kind of race specific. You can't make Superman Chinese American.
Hey, man, wait a minute.
Although I will say this about...
Come to think of it.
Although here's a theory for you. Ava DuVernay, right?
Yes. Who, frankly, a lot of us have known for 25 years. I mean, she was a publicist when I started off. So,
do you think... Okay, here's a theory I'll throw by you.
Yeah.
Now, this, of course, is separate from the idea that Paramount...
And then we'll move on with the show.
Yeah, Paramount blew it by not sending out screeners. Get that?
Yes.
Do you think that Ava... Okay. The reason why Selma is so good, right, is because it avoids everything that would make it an Oscar film, right?
True.
So, do you feel if the movie was this big, bloated hagiography with angels singing on a mountaintop, which is what Lee Daniels would have done, and what everybody would have done, do you think it would have been nominated for a bunch of Oscars?
Absolutely not.
So it was all a screener situation.
I think it's entirely... I think, Selma was a movie that was... There are a lot of movies on people's lips at awards time, and there's a timing thing going on here, too. We forgot to mention David Fincher. Gone Girl, obviously it got some recognition, but it didn't get a David Fincher nomination. It didn't deserve that.
Come on.
But here's the thing.
It's an airport novel. Stop it.
Kind of, but the movie is very good. But the movie probably would have done better had it been released a month later. Right? There's a very delicate timing thing that goes on with the Academy Awards and with the awards season, and you have to kind of catch people's attention at the right time. It's really all about timing, and you can be too early and you can be too late, depending on the kind of film you are. The exception this year, obviously, is Budapest Hotel. Wes Anderson, that film was like
that was early in the year.
That was early in the year, like Crash was back in 2005. And it snowballed, and people loved it, and no one expected a movie that was that good at that point in the year. And because it's a comedy, people kept seeing it again. And then it came out on Blu-ray and DVD, and then now they're releasing it. I mean, that is just aces the way that Fox Searchlight has handled that. Absolutely beautiful. That is a textbook example of how you handle an awards campaign, a release in an awards campaign, and you think outside the box. So anyway.
Look at us.
All right.
Wait, now how many minutes are we into the show?
We are 23 minutes into the show, so we got to start cooking.
By the way, can I say the first thing about Blu-rays in 2015?
Yes.
I want to say the first word about Blu-rays in 2015.
Yes.
In 3 months, it's coming. Escape from New York.
I know.
Bam! Shout Factory.
You know what else is coming?
Wait.
Ultra high definition Blu-ray.
Dud. No one's buying that. Also, Criterion just announced their April titles. Friends of Eddie Coyle.
I know, isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
And
Odd Man Out, Carol Reed.
We are also going to announce this on the Facebook page, but I'm going to go ahead and make an announcement right now. Yassine who created the Facebook page. Yassine is one of our longtime listeners. He's always just been such a great team player.
Yay.
And Yassine had a great idea, and he's running with it, which is we're going to have an Oscar pool.
We are going to have an Oscar pool.
We're going to have a Digigods Oscar pool, and you're going to compete against us. And, of course, we can't win. Mark and I are not eligible to win. But, you get to see if you can do better than we do, which is probably not going to be very hard. And whoever wins is going to win quite a bunch of goodies. I'm not yet certain how many goodies, but I'm putting it together. I'm reaching out. I'm seeing what kind of a grab bag, what kind of swag we can hook you up with. But, in the meantime, go ahead and play. And Yassine has set all this up at funofficepools.com. So you go to funofficepools.com, and I'll post this to the Facebook page so everybody's on board once this show is up. And you have to sign up. You got to do your username and yada, yada.
It's
and
free.
All that stuff. It's free. Just so sign up for it. And the group is the Digigods.
Now, is there a space between the and Digigods?
There is. There's a space between the and Digigods. The T and the D and the G.
Is it case sensitive?
Are all capitalized. I doubt it. And then the password is Lars von Trier. One word, all
Lars
lowercase.
von Trier.
Lars von Trier.
So what you're saying is
Yes.
that the username is the space Digigods.
Yes.
The Digigods.
Yes.
Password, one word, Lars von Trier.
That's right. So go ahead, hook up with the Oscar pool. We're going to have a great time. It's gonna
Oscar
be fun.
pool. Well, here's what happened. So Yassine emails us.
Yeah.
And he says, let's do this Oscar pool thing. So offline, I email Wade, and I said, this sounds like a great idea. However, I'm not going to be tabulating hundreds of ballots. It's not going to happen. I don't know whether there's OscarPool.com or whatever. So Wade communicates with Yassine, and Yassine says there's this thing called, what's it called? OfficePool.com?
Fun office pools.
FunOfficePool.com. And this is all Yassine's doing. We had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Fun office pools. It's plural. So yeah.
FunOfficePools.com. So please sign up. Now, we have to leave this up to Yassine. I don't know how it works. So he has to set up. Now, is there a ballot? Or do people just type in Best Picture?
No, it's a ballot. You go into the side where it says, there's like a little ballot tab, and then it just brings up all of the categories, and you can change. You can change your mind, but then there's a drop dead date, and it's in 26 days, 30 days, whatever it is.
Exciting.
So, all right, Mark, let's start talking.
Let's start talking about the movie that will probably win Best Picture this year.
I'm not so sure.
I'm not so sure either. Actually, I really am not
because
I feel like it's not Oscar-y enough.
Okay, here's the thing. This is the film that's winning all the awards ahead of time, but so did L.A. Confidential in '97, and then Titanic swept everything, and L.A. Confidential got nothing except
because Titanic is an Oscar film.
That's right. But let's remember now, if you look at this numerically, and I've looked at all the categories, and I know how all the Academy voting works. It's one of my.
You know why?
Huh.
Nerd.
Thank you. Because if you look at, guild influence and who's in, how many people are in what branches of the Academy, I kind of figured out all the numerical possibilities, and I've narrowed it down. There's really only two films that have a chance, and that's Boyhood, which we're going to talk about right now, and The Imitation Game. Those are the only two. The only two contenders.
There is no way Imitation Game is win Best Picture.
Okay.
It has no moment. No one's talking about it.
It's Harvey time. Okay?
It's Harvey time.
It's Harvey time. You know what that means. Okay, that means that Babe Ruth is coming out, and it's the bottom of the ninth, and he's pointing at the top of the bleachers, and IFC is on the mound pitching. Okay, seriously, who do you trust? Do you trust the pitcher IFC, or do you trust Babe Ruth, Harvey Weinstein brothers to take that bat and just frickin' nail that thing? Who do you trust? It's Harvey time.
There is. I don't know that. He's going to have to make a hell of a case for that movie.
It's my second favorite film of the year.
Well, it's a good movie.
It's a great movie. But seriously, it's Harvey time. Boyhood is 3 hours long. Imitation Game is about 2 hours, and it's great, and it's a total Oscar film, and it's a feel-good Oscar film, and it's got a gay theme to it, so it's a little bit politically correct. And seriously, IFC, can IFC beat Harvey Weinstein? IFC has never won Best Picture.
No. They have not. Have they been nominated for Best Picture?
Never. IFC and Magnolia, every year, whenever we get our screeners, you know what it is. IFC and Magnolia basically sends you a batch of screeners with a rubber band around them, and they're a bunch of DVD-Rs, and they're like, I don't know if there's anything good in here. You kind of thumb through it and see what you like. They don't promote their stuff. Boyhood is the first film they've actively promoted. When I got that screener of Boyhood, and it was printed with the nice packaging and the for your consideration and the whole thing, I thought, wow, IFC, finally, what took you so long? But, it's Harvey time.
I don't know,
Carry
man.
on. Talk about Boyhood.
It's Harvey time. I just don't know that the Academy's going to go, man, Harvey, you are going to strong-arm me into voting for a movie that is good.
Talk about Boyhood.
You know what the amazing part about Boyhood is? And you have to admit this, Wade. I know you're not a fan of it, although I'm a bigger fan of it than you are. But
I don't dislike it. I just don't think it's amazing. But
okay. I just want to say, don't you find it amazing that this movie was going on for 12 years and no one knew about it? Literally, in 2002, 2004, 2006, 2007, 2009, 2000, nobody ever read about this little project he's been doing. 2011, 2012,
so they kept,
2013.
They kept
nobody
the secret
thought
really well.
Yes,
they kept the secret really
well. That
well.
is I find that remarkable.
Yes.
But people are responding to this film in a very strong way. They really feel like they are living this kid's life real time condensed. And so it's really touching a nerve. Again, is it an Academy nerve? Probably for Best Director, just for the achievement of it.
if you give me 12 years to make a movie, I will make the greatest film of all time. If you give me 30 days to stage the March on Selma, Alabama, I'm going to tell you no thanks. Okay? It's not about how long it takes to make a movie. It's how much you can do in a short span of time.
Well,
that's the measure of the filmmaker.
Well, but, people are... If you had hired...
It's a better movie if it were made conventionally with different actors playing the kid at different ages.
I don't think so. Because,
it's a better movie.
No, because seeing this kid grow up... I'm not saying it
took me out of the movie.
I responded to it this way, but a lot of people did. It gave the movie a soul because you felt like you are living this kid's life.
Yeah, I didn't.
And look...
I was like, this is next summer.
Yeah, but but that's fine. And you got to admit... They didn't use title cards. There were little visual or oral signifiers. That obviously he got older, but there was little visual and oral signifiers to further it along. That this is a couple years later. There wasn't like a black screen with white numbers saying 1997. So I just think this thing is touching a nerve in a very deep emotional way. And
it is in any case a lovely Blu-ray, and it's probably the best thing that IFC has ever released. So seriously, I mean it's a lovely package. They clearly know that this is their time is now for this film.
Oh so. Yeah. We also have The Equalizer with Denzel Washington, and I'm on record as saying that Denzel is my all-time favorite actor. I love Denzel Washington. I will see anything he does. I don't care what it is because he's the man. This movie, meh.
Yeah, well,
every time he killed somebody, I thought to myself in the theater, "You just got equalized." Because the movie's just so typical. At least when it was when it was a British guy, like if Idris Elba played this part. Yes, that'd be cool too.
It sure would.
But you know what? It was very cliched and it was very typical. And I don't know why they had to resurrect this character in this old CBS show just to make this movie, because it's just Denzel Washington, who I love more than anything. But I just feel like he deserved better. I just don't get it. Didn't get it. But it's a beautiful looking Blu-ray because it's a beautifully shot film. And there's a couple of special features on this thing, which I thought was pretty good. Photo gallery, useless, but it looks nice. And I do like the it's a bit of a fluff piece, but they do have this piece on Denzel Washington's career, which of course is great. And so there you go.
Lovely.
Actually, you know what? Rent this for the sound. Very good. Sound.
All right.
7.1.
So a few other things that are new or relatively new since we last did a show. The Trip to Italy, which is the sequel to The Trip. Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon come back in yet another fun time with Michael Winterbottom, who just keeps on working and making unusual movies and different movies. And
yeah, but you know what? I loved him, and you felt like he was on this like Oscar trajectory where he'd be like this super Oscar guy.
His time was the 90s.
But now it's like Adam McGowan. Yeah. He had that trajectory where you're like, this guy's going to make Oscar movies.
Jane Campion.
Make Oscar movies, and then it sort of like died.
They were part
Kevin Smith.
Well, we're going to talk about him in a moment. But they were all part of that class of the 90s. They were all. I mean, I was, when I was first going to the Cannes Film Festival in 92, 3, and 4, they all had movies there. Welcome to Sarajevo and The Piano and Clerks. That was the moment when they were all doing stuff. But anyway, Trip to Italy, you know what? It's a lot of fun. It's basically more of the same. Might even be funnier than The Trip, but these guys just have such great chemistry. I would be fine if they just kept making trip movies constantly, like the Trip to New York, the Trip to Fiji.
They're very funny.
Let it be like Bing and Bob, the road movies. Just keep doing it. Just keep it like the road movies and the trip movies, and then maybe you could even have Bing Crosby and Bob Hope make a cameo or something, right?
Yeah. Whatever you say, Wade.
Right. They're still around. The Guest is, this is just a weird movie. Dan Stevens was on Downton Abbey and played a very sophisticated, British lawyer and kind of upper middle class guy who enters the aristocracy and the whole thing. I mean, he was very, very good and sophisticated and elegant and romantic, and he plays an American Southern accented lunatic here. It's he's like a former army guy who's a stalker. And it's kind of a conventional thriller. This movie really belongs in the 80s. This is one of those movies, one of those, Fatal Attraction, single white female kind of deals. And it's called The Guest, and I just don't really know why he did this unless he's trying to, why does everyone want to be an action star? Everybody wants to show that they're tough.
That's where the money is.
I guess. But anyway, nothing spectacular here. It's not terrible. It's just not impressive on any great level. So that's The Guest, Blu-ray and DVD combo set with Ultraviolet. And then we've also got The Good Lie, which is the Reese Witherspoon movie that no one's talking about. This was kind of came and went. Basically, this is a dramatization of the same story that you get in the documentary about the Lost Boys of what was it called? You know, the
Lost Boys, Kiefer Sutherland.
No. The kids from Africa.
Sudan. The Lost
Boys of Sudan. Thank you. Anyway, basically, they made a dramatic film of that, and it's very impressive during the early parts when these kids are fleeing the Sudan. They're fleeing the warfare, going through the jungle, and some of them don't survive. I mean, it's a really harrowing first half. And then flash forward, and they're a lot older, and they're trying to make a life in America. Reese Witherspoon is trying to get them situated in an apartment, and she's trying to help them. And then it just becomes generic fish out of water stuff. But otherwise, The Good Lie it's half of a really good movie, and Reese Witherspoon's really more of a supporting actor in it than anything else. It's not her story, but they're not going to market it based on the Sudanese guys. There's your racial thing again, right? It's like they're marketing it with Reese Witherspoon, but it's half of a good movie. So I would say that's there's that. And then lastly, on my little mini stack here, from Film Movement, I wish Film Movement would start doing some Blu-rays, because this is the kind of film that really demands it. But Film Movement is still a great company, and 1,000 Times Good Night is one of those movies that might have been an Oscar contender had it gotten a marketing campaign from a bigger distributor. But I'm thrilled that it got released at all, and so I salute Film Movement for doing this. This is a fantastic film that was pieced together as an international co-production in the most kind of ramshackle way, and yet it still incredibly works. Juliette Binoche and Nikolai Kostner-Waldau play a husband and wife who live in Ireland, of all places. It's like, he's Scandinavian and she's French, and they're living in Ireland. That tells you where they got the money for this movie.
Everywhere.
He's a marine biologist. She's a combat photographer, and and they've got 2 daughters, and it's all about how she keeps going into these combat zones, into Afghanistan and into Iraq and wherever in Africa, and she puts herself at risk, and how it really introduces all kinds of friction into the family, and she can't give it up. And her performance is staggering. It is really heartfelt. It's beautifully done all the way through. Eric Pape, who directed it, is a former photographer, and it's just wonderful. I just think this is a fantastic film. If you want a gem that completely went under the radar, look for 1,000 Times Good Night. It is just a wonderful movie from Film Movement.
Wade, there's a movie called Pride, and Pride takes its place alongside inspirational Brit movies like Billy Elliot and Calendar Girl and whatnot. But this is I might have liked this a little bit better actually than some of those other movies. It takes place in the mid '80s, and there's a strike in Great Britain. And this little Welsh village, they decide that they are going to travel to London. They're a bunch of activists, and they're going to support this strike in person. So they trek over there, and they try to support these strikers in very unique and interesting ways. And it's very funny. It's very entertaining. It's it's like a lot of those movies that I just mentioned. It's a little bit not campy, but a little bit poppy in moments. Like it's one of those movies where even though people are down on their luck, it's still a happy movie. It's like Billy Elliot. Yeah, Billy's unhappy, but it's still a happy movie. Calendar Girls, they got a problem. Still a happy movie. It's like one of those.
Sure.
But it's just terrifically entertaining, and it's got a bunch of laughs. What are you doing, Wade? And it's got a bunch of laughs and some good performances from Imelda Staunton and Bill Nighy, who we always love.
I love Bill Nighy. I really do.
Cool. And also Patty Considine.
I watched over the holidays, because it's not appropriate for the baby, for my daughter, but not really a baby anymore. But I kind of snuck away and I watched Love Actually, and gosh, he's funny in that movie.
That's the one where they spend 45 minutes getting off a plane at the end, right?
Oh, it's the best. No, it's so good.
It's terrible.
Hey, kids, don't do drugs. You can become a pop star. Don't buy drugs. You become a pop star, and they give them for you for free. It's the greatest line. It's great. It's so funny.
From the good folks at Millennium Entertainment, Wade. Now, Millennium Entertainment, as we know, they are the purveyors of fine motion picture entertainments.
Avi Lerner.
Now, Millennium. Now, here's the thing with Millennium. Do they make films, or do they just buy them?
It's a factory, man. Somebody will come to them and say, I got a movie with so and so and so and so attached, and Avi will say, what else can you give me? If you can get me X, Y, Z, ABC, I can sell it to territories 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. and they say, what can you get? And then it basically becomes a calculus or an algebra equation. You plug in the pieces that will get you the right result, and they go with it. And it doesn't really matter what the script is. It's all about, can you get the pieces that will justify the sales to justify the budget? Done.
Well, here's what happened. Somebody walked into Avi Lerner's office and said, Avi, my boy, here's what I've got. I've got a script. Don't know what it's called. Don't know what it's about. Don't even care. But I can get you Danny Aiello, Tom Berenger, Kira Sedgwick, Natasha Henstridge, Thomas Jane, Tom Sizemore, Sylvester Stallone, and Danny Trejo. And Kelsey Grammer. Will you make this movie? What's it called? I don't know. What's it about? I don't know. I'll make it anyway.
I got Danny Trejo and Kelsey Grammer. I got Danny Trejo and Kelsey Grammer. Oh, Danny Trejo sells really well in like Panama, and Kelsey Grammer sells really well to Fiji. I guess that's worth about $80,000, maybe $82,000. What else you got?
Wait, I have Thomas Jane and Kira Sedgwick.
Okay.
It's done. Yeah. Anyway, so this is called Reach Me, and it's actually a drama. Even though it's sort of positioned, at least the cover art, especially the back part with the machine gun going off, it's a bit of a drama. It's about this motivational book, and these characters read this motivational book, and they decide to change their lives in certain ways. And I won't get into the specific ways because that'll ruin the surprise. But the ways aren't always violent. Some of them are very kind of inspiring. How these characters kind of take this book to heart and try to change their lives in positive ways. And so that's Reach Me. It's not very good because it's a Millennium film, and Millennium films are always bad.
Yeah.
So also we have from Kevin Smith, and nobody hates Kevin Smith more than I do. We have Tusk, which is oddly enough the best Kevin Smith film in a long time. And I you know what?
Such an odd movie.
It's a very odd movie. It's about a guy who turns into a walrus.
Yeah.
And
as opposed to Horns, which you're also going to talk about in a moment.
That's
Isn't that
true.
Weird? Tusk and Horns came out at the same time.
Love it. So Kevin Smith, I just feel like now that he has made just bomb after bomb, and he's a bit of a punchline at this point, he just decided to throw it all away and do just the weirdest film ever in the entire world. It's this podcaster, he's looking for a story, and he winds up traveling to Canada, and he meets this guy played by Michael Parks, and he turns into a walrus. But you know what? It's it's low budge, but it's stylish, and it's kind of funny, and it's completely bizarre. And I just feel like I wish Kevin Smith would make more films like this, even maybe not so unhinged from a story standpoint.
Right.
You know, like Red State. When he did Red State, I thought to myself, wow, he's going to make a political statement, whether I agree with it or not. At least he's going to be out there and giving it a shot. And Red State in the end was not very good.
No.
I'll take this over Red State.
I don't think Kevin Smith needs a strong producer. He needs a partner. He needs a Zanuck or a Selznick or that, a Sam Spiegel. He needs somebody to just basically slap him around every once in a while and to bring out his best. He doesn't have a strong producer.
No.
He needs that.
And you know what? And here's the thing. There was when he made Zach and Mary Make a Porno, that movie was not bad. That was almost a real movie.
Not terrible.
It's almost a real movie.
Almost is. You're right.
You know, and I thought, wow, he's actually he might be growing up just a little bit,
tiny bit. Well, I still think Amy is a really good movie.
Yeah, totally.
Until the end, when it just goes off the rails.
Yeah, but where's that guy?
You need a producer.
Wade Horns, Wade.
Oh my gosh.
Here's the thing:
guy who turns into a walrus, and then a guy who grows horns. What?
It's what's his name?
What's wrong with this season?
It's Alexander Aja, whatever the horror director. But it's funny because you get Daniel Radcliffe, right? All the money, he's richer than God.
It's unbelievable. Worth hundreds of millions, He is richer than like Robert De Niro and Robert Redford combined. You know what I mean? Isn't that insane?
And he can get
crazy.
He can get any movie he wants. He can attach himself to any script, right? And
he can finance the movie. He could
write a check.
He could write a check and make an Avengers movie. He could.
No, what I'm saying is that he could write a check and make a movie that will move people and touch people. Let's say he makes Horns.
He could finance Titanic. He could make Titanic 2.
And that's why, by the way...
It comes back up and sinks all over again. He could do it if he wanted.
And that's why, by the way, thank goodness Jennifer Aniston did not get nominated for an Oscar, because you know what? Just because she decides to show up for a movie for the first time in 12 years doesn't mean she needs to be rewarded. She has all the money in the world.
Have you seen the film?
Yes.
You did? You saw Cake?
It's not great.
Okay. I'm watching it tonight. I haven't seen it yet.
You have the screener?
They didn't send me a screener. Did they send you a screener?
No.
Yeah, they said. Well, they sent me like 2 days ago. I had to beg for it because they only sent out guild screeners. They did the opposite of Selma. They solicited the guilds and they didn't solicit the critics. But I got to talk about it on Friday on Film Week. So
anyway, Horn's not very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we talk about this now, or are you talking about what you're talking about?
Yeah, let me blow through a few here real quickly. Liam Neeson did a walk among the tombstones back in the holidays and got a little bit of attention, but everybody said, it's just like a dry run for the next Taken film. He's just kind of he's just honing his skills. He's keeping himself sharp, letting people know what's coming. This is way better than Taken 3. Taken 3 is like a horrible, horrible, dreadful abomination. And A Walk Among the Tombstones isn't bad. It's basically the same kind of thing he's been doing lately. Liam Neeson's late night conversion into an ace action star. He's kind of a rogue PI who helps this guy who's a heroin trafficker. Again, Dan Stevens from Downton Abbey, trying to be a tough dude. Which he shouldn't do. And these guys have killed his wife, so he's going to try to help the heroin trafficker track down the guys who killed his wife, and everything gets all dark and hazy and so forth. This is the kind of movie that Nicolas Cage probably would have done, 15 years ago and made a hash out of it. Liam Neeson makes it really gritty and good and solid, and it's not great. It's based on a series of novels, but it works. It's a Blu-ray and DVD combo. And then we got a couple of horror films here with similar titles. I will separate these for you. Annabelle is a quasi-prequel to The Conjuring, that creepy doll, that kind of freaky-looking doll thing from The Conjuring. This is all about the doll and how the doll got to be so creepy, and it's scary. It's not The Conjuring, but it's scary. It's good for anything with dolls. Why are dolls so creepy? Dolls and clowns.
Talking Tina.
Oh my gosh, dolls and clowns. They're the worst. Anything with makeup, it's just horrific. And you know what? My mother-in-law gave my daughter, her granddaughter, a doll that looks a little bit too much like this, and it sits in the closet. We don't open the closet. It terrifies us. It does. It's really creepy. And every once in a while, on a certain night, the door to the closet is open.
Does it open with a creak?
Yes. It's the worst thing ever. And then, not to be confused with Annabelle, is Jezebel, which is one of the worst films of the year. They try to plug it by saying, from the producer of The Insidious and The Purge, as if that's a real selling point. This thing should be scarier than it is. It's not. It's directed by a guy who was an editor and then a director on a lot of the Saw films, so he's bringing a lot of the same shock techniques from the Saw films. But essentially, it's about a woman who survives the accident that kills her fiancé and then moves back in with her dad in the bayou. She's in a wheelchair. And there's this whole kind of voodoo angle, and her mom died, and she finds videotapes of her mom, and she starts kind of piecing together the history of her birth and her origins, and you're wondering, why are all these bayou voodoo people doing things? What's going on? And eventually there's all the the obligatory revelations and so forth, and then the thing ends with the usual ironic twists, and you're supposed to go, ooh. But it's not. It's competent, but it's not great. The Identical is why this. I didn't see this when this came out, and I heard everybody say that this was just hysterically horrible. And in fact, it really is. This is the faith-based crowd, the guys who make those. A lot of. There's a lot of different teams that do it.
Is Kirk Cameron in it?
No. This is one of those teams that have done a lot of faith-based movies, trying to go A-list on us. So we're going to get Ashley Judd. We're going to get Ray Liotta. That's pretty A-list, right? Right there?
Yeah, this is 1994.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, this is the story of, Elvis Presley was a twin. You know this, right?
I did not.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Elvis Presley was a twin, but the twin brother died in the womb or something like that. They were never born together.
He killed him.
In the womb, right? Anyway, Elvis was originally one of it, so he was a twin. There was another one. And this is what if that's not true? What if the twin actually was, they were separated at birth, and the twin was adopted and grew up to become an Elvis impersonator? And then there's a whole faith angle to this. It's just hilariously stupid. It's unbelievable to me that somebody actually cooked this story up.
Well, actually, what would really happen is that the twin would grow up to be Elvis's business manager and then embezzle all the money.
Yeah, anyway. And then Elsa and Fred is a remake of the Italian film of the same name, with Christopher Plummer and Shirley MacLaine playing the lead parts of an elderly couple who, despite the objections of their children as they are moved into a rest home, they wind up connecting and liberating each other, and he brings her down to earth, and she makes him fly, and yada, 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 on and so forth. The original film is kind of sweet and charming, not great. This one is just kind of annoying because Shirley MacLaine just does not know how to... She plays it at, she turns it up to 11 now, every performance.
Yeah, she's become like this Hallmark Hall of Fame actress for some reason.
And then lastly, the very unfortunate Men, Women, and Children from Jason Reitman, which he's now had 2 bombs in a row, and I think it's too bad because I think this is a really good film. But it did not connect with people. A lot of people thought this was just too kind of moralistically, like a kind of an overbearing moralistic attack on the internet and social networking. It's basically about all these several different families that are all kind of struggling with the way that the internet and social networking affects their children. And
I just feel like I'm being scolded for 2 hours.
You know what? But as a parent, I got it. I totally got it. I connected with it. I'm like, this movie is important. And I thought it was well acted and well written and well conceived. But yes, it was a little too heavy-handed for most audiences. But I still think it's a good film. So it has a few extra special features on the Blu-ray. And not a whole lot, but it's. I think it's worthwhile. It's at least worth a rental, and it's got a deleted storyline among the extras, which I kind of wish had been included in the film. Would have made it kind of a richer experience. But still, I really admire the film, and I think it's too bad it got dismissed as it did. I'm hoping it catches on now, gets a second life,
Becomes a cult classic.
Yeah, let's hope so.
The showgirls of social media inspired films.
Yeah, why not?
Should we talk about this?
Yeah, go ahead. That's an important film now. You read the book.
I did read the book.
You have a very different opinion of it than I do.
Well, you know what? I did read Gone Girl, and I liked it fine. It was an airport novel with some very interesting insights into the inner workings of a marriage and that constant battling for supremacy or who's on top, who's in command and control of the relationship and all the little power struggles. And I like that stuff all couched in this, airport novel thriller kind of a conceit. And the movie is very faithful to the book. I had heard that they had changed the ending. And they did not change the ending. The ending is extremely faithful to the book. And so it's good. The movie, I have to say, I feel like the movie was a little bit beneath David Fincher. A little beneath him. Because at the end, I'm watching the movie and I'm thinking to myself, is this all there is? I mean, Is this it? I mean, Zodiac plumbs the depths of obsession.
Yeah.
This is like, and another thing that bothered me, other than the is this all there is situation, is that I felt like Fincher was a little more motivated by the procedural aspects of it than the emotional aspects of it.
I saw this around the same time as I saw Men, Women, and Children, and I thought that both of them were very scathing looks at the media culture. I think this is a media satire. And I didn't realize it till halfway through when the film turns the tables on you. I mean, it really throws you a left hook. It's very Vertigo-like. It's intentionally Vertigo-like. But it goes from being a very serious film, a kind of a whodunit, and then it turns into a thriller that's a little cheeky and very satirical. I mean, it really starts kind of overreaching, and I thought in a conscious way. That's a difficult thing to do in a film, and I think people didn't fully appreciate what Fincher was doing. He was walking a line, taking material that was, like you say, it might seem to be beneath him, but I think he elevated the material. Because frankly, have you read The Shining? Have you ever read Jaws? You read The Godfather? Those are all not great. None of them. Jaws is a terrible novel. The Godfather is a dreadful novel. And The Shining is like typical Stephen King, but all three of those movies elevate that material. They turn it into something else. They see something in it that is better cinematically than what it was originally in book form. And I think, not having read the book, but it seems to me that Fincher was going for something similar here.
Well, the Blu-ray is beautifully put together, I have to say. And
nice packaging, right?
Nice, beautiful packaging.
Yeah.
And it comes with a Fincher commentary. Can't beat that. I mean, he does. He's not. It's not quite like having Bob Zemeckis and Kurt Russell do the used cars commentary, but he does tell you a lot about what he was thinking. So, is the movie worth watching? Absolutely. You know what? With your girlfriend or your wife or your boyfriend or your husband or whatever, you check this thing out. You'll be talking about it after it's done. There's a lot going on. It's beautifully shot. It's very Fincher-esque in terms of its color palette and the music. By the same guys who did a bunch of his other films.
Yep.
I just think in the end, it just felt like I looked at it and I said, I didn't really learn much about. It didn't resonate with me. Of course, I've never been married, so what do I know? It didn't resonate with me as yes.
Your phone is making funny noises.
Well, because I forgot to. Okay, I'll turn it off. Fine. I forgot to take my glass. I need my glasses, and I forgot to take my glasses from my car. So while you were droning on about something, actually, I'm not making this up. While you were droning on about something, I downloaded.
J-Date?
No, I downloaded a magnifying glass app.
Oh, that's sweet.
And I've been using it to read some of these press releases that we get.
Okay.
But I won't. I will put it down.
That's okay.
Now, if you like, I can go get my glasses, but you've got to vamp for about
that's
90
fine.
seconds while I get my glasses.
Oh, I'll vamp for more than 90 seconds. I got plenty to do here.
Okay, let's wrap up Gone Girl. So, by the way, Ben Affleck, very good. Rosamund Pike, perfect casting. Perfect casting.
So deserves that Oscar nomination. I'm so glad she got it.
So much. Because you know what? You look at her, and she's so beautiful, but yet with just the little microscopic tweak of her lips or her eyes, she looks like a totally different psychopath.
It's true.
Looks beautiful, but then with the tiniest little switch, she's a psychopath, and it's beautiful. And you know what? The casting of that was crucial.
Yeah.
People wondered who's going to play the wife.
Yeah.
And she was perfect. Yep. Great. And he was really good too. Career best.
Totally
Best performance, Ben Affleck.
Totally agree.
Now, by the way, it's a low bar, but I'm just saying, career best performance from Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Beautiful transfer.
Go get your
digital
glasses.
HD, yes.
Go get your glasses, and I am going to talk about, as long as we're talking about, parts for black actors, I'm going to talk about Get On Up and Middle of Nowhere. Ava DuVernay's last film, which is finally out on DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna cover this. Get your glasses, and I'll hold the fort down. So while Mark is going to get them, let's first talk about Get On Up, which is of course the James Brown biopic that had gone through a number of different incarnations. At one point, Eddie Murphy was even attached to this thing. You know what? Here's the thing. Tate Taylor directed this. Tate Taylor previously did The Help 3 years ago. And he's becoming known now, not necessarily in a positive sense, as the white guy who gets the call to direct films about black subject matter and black icons. But I will say he does it particularly well. Get On Up is not a great biopic. This is not even on the level of Ray. But there are some very interesting things in it. Chadwick Boseman, who was previously very, very good as Jackie Robinson, does an unbelievable job here playing James Brown. I mean, it is incredible. It is not just a James Brown impersonation, which a lot of people have done. You get the dance down and you get the how and the voice and the whole thing. That's always what's kind of constituted the James Brown impersonation before. But he gets the craziness right. He gets the crazy, the obsession, the workaholic, the guy who is incredibly conflicted based on his upbringing, and who's ambitious but who's a little bit unhinged. He gets all the nuances of the crazy, and it's really, really good in that regard. Where it's weak is in trying to give you an insight into him. You don't really get an insight into him. So Bobby Bird is your access to the emotional landscape of the film. But it is nonetheless, I think, in most regards, a solid entertainment. The music scenes alone make it worth watching. Chadwick Boseman he's so entertaining to watch. It makes you want to just go and do like I did and look up a bunch of old James Brown videos. And it's got some alternate and deleted scenes, full song performances, which is great fun. I'm so glad they put that on there, and even some extended performances. It's really, really fun, really good. Get On Up. I liked it. Even though it's not a great film, the music makes it worth watching. Ava DuVernay's last film, which is essentially the movie that got her the call to do Selma, is Middle of Nowhere, a low-budget but incredibly well-made movie. Really nuanced, beautifully acted. And David Oyelowo was in this, and that's how she wound up getting it. Lee Daniels was supposed to do Selma, but David Oyelowo, of course, having already been cast as Martin Luther King, said at a certain point when they lost Lee Daniels, he says, Ava can do this. She's an amazing director. Brought her on, and I mean, a huge upgrade. I mean, this movie was, what do you think, $1.5 million, $1 million?
Oh, yeah.
And then suddenly she's handed a $20 million budget, but 30 days.
Right, but very low budgeting, and that she's got 30 days to do it.
Yeah, I mean, but to stretch a dollar this way versus stretching a dollar the other way, you have to up your game. You really have to up your game, and she just did it so beautifully. So anyway, this is a really, really good movie. I mean, Middle of Nowhere was kind of high last year in our voting. I mean, it was kind of on the bubble in a lot of things. It got some love. But yeah, it's just as just a dramatic character piece. It's fantastic, and it won Best Director at the 2012 Sundance Film Festival. And it's basically a woman caught between two men, and it just hits on every emotional level. It's just so beautiful.
I'm really curious to see what Ava does next, because you're not going to give her Jurassic Park 6.
No,
and
but
what are you going to get? What's she going to go for?
My guess is she probably has a laundry list of passion projects that she would love to do. And I don't think she's going to take an assignment. That's just not her style, It's just not what she does. She's not the kind of person that says, all right, I've made it. I'm Wolfgang Peterson. I just made Das Boot. Hand me, some big bloated tent pole or something. This is what the studios love. They love it when somebody excels at a passion project or some little indie, and then it's like, okay, now we're going to use you. We're going to capitalize on your name, and we're going to hand you something that we've spent the last 5 years developing. I don't think she's going to do that. I think she has her own projects, and I think she's going to use her capital now, which may be greater because she's not been nominated, because everyone is feeling guilty now about it. I think she's got more cachet. This may work out in her favor. I think she's going to get to do what she wants. So that's what I'm interested to see. And then lastly, on my little stack here, The Maze Runner. The Maze Runner is, of course, another attempt at taking a young adult novel that has it's kind of a franchise following and doing the Hunger Games deal on it, or the Divergent deal, and it ain't gonna work. I mean, it just isn't that. The idea is, people trapped in a giant maze, which has been done to death in science fiction and even young adult fiction, and it doesn't really bring anything new to the table. I don't know. It's competent, but it's not that interesting. It has a documentary and a visual effects reel and storyboards and gag reel and all kinds of stuff to try to make this feel a little bit more accessible. It's okay. I guess if you like the other movies, you'll enjoy this, but it's not up to snuff with Divergent or the Hunger Games. Blu-ray DVD combo set with the Ultraviolet as well.
Wade, you just talked about James Brown. Now let's talk about Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
Jimmy, always by my side. Now, what's interesting about this film is that it really is the first film to just put Jimmy top and center.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
The guy is he is played by Andre Benjamin, who does a terrific job. He looks like Jimmy. He's got Jimmy's moves. The costuming, obviously, Jimmy had a lot of flamboyant costuming going on, especially when he was living in London.
This is another film that you would have expected to get some love because it's written and directed by someone who won an Oscar last year for writing the Best Picture Oscar last year.
African American?
Yes.
But again, the Academy's racist, so they're not going to give it to John Ridley because they're racist.
But John Ridley's very uneven. I mean, he really.
That whole 12 Years a Slave thing was weird because he had written nothing even remotely that interesting or good or whatever.
Well, but it was like Steve McQueen rewrote it with him.
That's
but
right.
There was a contractual obligation. The same thing with Selma.
Selma. That's right.
Yeah, Ava rewrote the hell out of that script.
I mean, she's been very diplomatic about Paul Webb's contribution to that movie.
Well,
from a script standpoint,
I found that out, and I've stopped giving Paul Webb all the credit for the script because I've read his version of the script, and it's even though his was a blacklist script in 2007, it is not what they filmed. It's not what they filmed.
It could still be a good script.
It is. It's still a good script, but it's not as good as what they have now. I would dare say Ava rewrote 65-70% of it.
Damn. Well, why was there no arbitration on that?
Because neither of them are WGA members.
Oh, that's
why.
Interesting.
Yep. There you go.
Anyway, Jimmy, all's by my side. It is. It's fine. It's held together by Andre Benjamin's performance. I'm going to say that there is a more definitive biography to be made about Jimi Hendrix's life. But in the meantime, we have Jimmy All's by my side. A film that I thought was absolutely completely lovely is Love is Strange with John Lithgow and Alfred Molina. They play a gay couple living in New York. They've been together for 40 years. And when the movie starts, they get married. And then soon after that, one loses his job. And so they have to sell their beloved apartment and live apart while they figure out what they're going to do. And you know what? This is by Ira Sachs. Ira Sachs is
meh.
Oh, this film?
I'm okay on Ira Sachs movies. It's fine. It's a good movie.
It's a gentle, lovely film, and that's it. Its aims are modest, but that's okay.
It's okay.
I found this film to be lovely. The performances are lovely.
It's an Ira Sachs film. If you've seen any of his other stuff, it's the same kind of deal. It is.
You're so dismissive.
Well, no, it's like Whit Stillman. You sort of know his neighborhood.
Yeah, what about that guy?
Yeah.
Lame. Commentary with Lithgow and Molina, which shows you how important the film was to the lead actors. They're going to sit down and do a commentary. There's also Q&A with recorded at the LA Film Festival, which is kind of interesting because Ira Sachs is interviewed there. And I like this film a lot. It's got a lot of lovely performances. It's just terrific. Love is Strange. Check that out. We also have a thing that I couldn't get through called The Two Faces of January. And the thing with this is that it's a thriller, and it's about this guy and his wife, and it's a little not Talented Mr. Ripley-esque, but although it's based on a Patricia Highsmith novel. And Highsmith novels, if you've read them, they are very hard to adapt to film. I thought that the Matt Damon Mr. Ripley was pretty good. This one less so. It's about this charismatic guy and his wife, and they befriend this young guy during a European trip. The guy is played by Oscar Isaac, who, of course, is now blowing up thanks to Most Violent Year, and I think he's also in the next Star Wars. But the movie is not that suspenseful, not that gripping. It's directed by Hossein Amini. Mm-hmm. And I'm not wager familiar with Hossein Amini.
Yeah. I think this is
this doesn't turn the screws like you really want it to. It just doesn't.
This is one of those really frustrating movies. Really frustrating. And The Talented Mr. Ripley was a little bit frustrating in the same way for me, where you watch the movie and you sort of know what they were going for, and you feel like they're maybe 85% there. And that, with most movies, that's amazing, and you're like, that's great, and that's enough. But with this kind of a movie, 85% there is, you might as well be 10% there. You know what I mean? It either has to be completely what it's shooting for, or it doesn't work. And it sets itself a very, very high bar, and it almost achieves it, but almost is not even nearly close enough in this case.
Well, because this movie, like Ripley, it's all Highsmith stuff. It's sort of this blend of it's kind of Hitchcockian, and
here's the thing with Highsmith, and I don't know, people can go and Google Highsmith. The woman was out of her mind. She was. Patricia Highsmith was insane. This is a woman who was bisexual and a Nazi sympathizer and anti-Semitic, and really just completely contradictory in so many facets of her life. And that all you get that in her writing. But when you adapt that to the film, you're losing her prose. You're losing all of that madness from her life. It's no longer, you're one more generation removed. You're filtering it through a screenwriter and a cinematographer and a director, and you got to replace that with something. And the only person who's ever been able to do that is Hitchcock, because Hitchcock was also insane. So whatever you lose, whatever you lose from the original Highsmith prose, when you move that into Strangers on a Train, Hitchcock replaces it with all of his own obsessions and weirdness, and it turns it into something else.
It turns into a Hitchcock film.
It turns into a Hitchcock film, and you need that, and you need a much stronger director for any of that material, and so I think that's part of the problem. But anyway,
we digress. Let's talk about real quick. It's not very good. Two-Bit Waltz is it's one of those twee little Royal Tenenbaums type comedies
it's not much.
Is really annoying. Anyway, it's about this girl. Her name is Maud. She's played by Clara Mamet, and she's suspended from school right before her 18th birthday. She's dumped by her boy. Her grandmother dies, and it's all about Maud trying to find a way to college and get along with her eccentric family. It's got a good cast. Rebecca Pidgeon's in it. Put it this way: if William H. Macy's in it, and David Paymer's in it, and Rebecca Pidgeon's in it, guess who Clara Mamet is related to? By the way,
Claire Mamet. The name doesn't ring a bell.
By the way, speaking of David Mamet, so get this. So I was in San Francisco for Christmas.
Yeah.
Why? Because I had nothing else to do.
Okay.
So I went with a buddy of ours.
Yes.
And we had a Christmas dinner.
I saw the pictures.
You did?
I did.
There were pictures?
He posted pictures.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, he posted a picture of himself across the bay.
Okay. Well, that's not Christmas dinner.
Okay.
We ate at this place called Campton House.
Yes.
Very good.
Okay.
It was a 5-course, Christmas meal.
5-course.
Which,
nice.
of course, we can only get the reservation at the last sitting,
Nice.
which is 9 p.m.
Yes.
Which means that, like, at 11:30 at night, I'm trying
Sure.
to stuff the fourth course down my gullet.
Sure.
I'm so tired and full. Anyway, at this restaurant, in the middle of the restaurant, Ricky Jay.
Nice.
Like, why is Ricky Jay in the middle of a San Francisco restaurant on Christmas night? It's just totally bizarre.
Yeah.
And I love Ricky Jay. I own 2 of his books. I've seen his show. I love his movies when he does Mammoth and not Mammoth. Just saying, putting it out there, Ricky Jay.
Christmas Eve, first time in 4 years that I've gone to the market on Christmas Eve to shop, and I've not seen any celebrities. Seriously. But I saw John Goodman the other day.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he lives in New Orleans.
He was at the market.
Well, the one down here.
Yeah. And he didn't look good.
Well, he's lost a lot of weight.
He's lost a lot of weight.
I mean, he's a mammoth
Clothes
person.
were hanging off him. I mean, I've seen him before at screenings, right? You know, like at the Cinerama Dome, there was the Croc Hunter movie, right?
That's why they had it at the Dome, because it was the only place they could fit him.
I went there and I went into the bathroom, and suddenly this hulking behemoth of a human being shows up in the urinal next to me, and I just thought, "Damn, dude, you are a big man. That's a big man in front of a very little urinal." Anyway.
Okay, I don't know what we're talking about. Here's what we're talking about now. Well, we're talking about the San Francisco Giants. For the 3rd time in 5 years, they're world champions, and I don't know what to make of that. You know, it's like it's not that they're a bad team, but I just don't smell dynasty. They won 3 World Series in 5 years, and you're like, all right, well, they were the best team in the postseason. What can I say? You know, the National League West is lame, and it's not that hard to win the National League West, and then they just made it to the World Series. So we have 2 Blu-rays. We have the 8-disc collection, 2014 World Series Collector's Edition Giants win. Gotta love that. All 7 games from the 2014 World Series and Game 5 of the Championship Series. Pretty cool here. 4 audio options. You can watch the TV audio with the TV commentators, home radio, home away, or Spanish language. And a little insert that has a bunch of stats. That's cool. This is if you're a Giants fan, and if you are, go to hell. No, I don't care about the Giants. I'm a Met fan. What do I care about the Giants? If you can't afford that, go for Championship 2014, narrated by Colin Hanks. This is from the good folks at MLB, and this is fine too. You know, but I think that if you're a Giants fan, you should definitely go for the 8-disc banger. Because it's good.
All right, and then I'm going to blow through. I'm going to mention a cute little indie right here that came across our radar, and then I'm going to plow through a whole bunch of really great stuff that just came out in December and in the last few weeks, Criterion and Warner Brothers in particular. And then, but here's a little indie I want to mention. It's called Queens of the Ring, and this has a whole. If you're a WWE fan, you'll totally enjoy this. This is one of the first films from WWE Studios that I think actually has kind of a little tongue-in-cheek charm. A lot of cameos in here from their wrestlers. Basically, it's the story of a mom who works at a supermarket whose son is obsessed with wrestling, and so to kind of ingratiate herself into her teenager's obsessions, she takes lessons on how to be a wrestler herself and convinces all of her co-workers or the other cashiers from the market to join her. It's really sweet. There's kind of a like if Gary Marshall were to make a movie about WWE, this would be it. Does that make sense? It's cool. It's called Queens of the Ring, and it's a fun little charming discovery. So here's what came out end of last year. The first release is in the new Diamond Luxe series. That's Luxe from Warner Brothers. These are the Diamond Luxe editions, which are nice, tight, streamlined multi-disc packages of the following films. Natural Born Killers, the director's cut. Ben-Hur, the original, not the abortive Timur Bekmambetov crap that's going to be coming out soon. Tom Hanks in The Green Mile, 15th Anniversary Edition. The 30th Anniversary Edition of Gremlins. And a wonderful Anniversary Edition of Forrest Gump. 2 discs, which is, to me, the gem of all of this. They all come with loads of extras. The packaging is nice and sturdy and heavy. I really appreciate it. Natural Born Killers is a film I'm obviously not fond of. It's one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. I think it's just a completely horrible abortion. But if you love the director's cut, which I find unwatchable, then this is great. Lots of extras on here. Commentary with Oliver Stone and deleted scenes and introductions with Oliver Stone and a Charlie Rose interview with Oliver Stone that is deeply disturbing. The Ben-Hur is fine. It's 3 discs. I am more fond of the big anniversary Ben-Hur that came in the nice big huge box set with the the Charlton Heston diaries and all that stuff. I think that's a much cooler set. But if you have limited space, this is a good one to get. It's the same transfer and a lot of great extras here. Commentary with T. Gene Hatcher and Charlton Heston. And, of course, the wonderful Miklos Rosa score, screen tests, a lot of good stuff there. And then, Green Mile, Gremlins, and Forrest Gump are all very, very popular films. Gremlins is a movie I never cared for, but a lot of great extras here, including from Gizmos to Gremlins, creating the creatures, which, you don't have in CGI era. And the Green Mile, a lot of extras. Forrest Gump is still a film I know a lot of people hate. I happen to love it. I think it's terrific. Very deserved back-to-back Best Actor Oscars for Tom Hanks, courtesy of this one. And it's got screen tests. It's got stuff on makeup. It's really wonderful. And Wendy Feinerman, one of the producers, does a commentary. And then Robert Zemeckis, Steve Starkey, another producer, and Rick Carter do another commentary. It's all great. These Diamond Luxe sets are really, really cool. And then lastly, we've got an Eric Romer film. Before I get to these criteria, it's an Eric Romer film. This is from the Kim Stim collection. This is 4 Adventures of Reinette and Mirabelle from 1987. If you're an Eric Romer fan, you know exactly what this is. It is certainly not for people who are not Eric Romer fans, but Fabrice Lucchini is just one of the great French actors of the last 20, 30 years. And here he is, much younger, but no less fantastic. So this is one of the better Eric Romer films, I think, of the last 20, 30 years. And then the amazing Werner Herzog movie Fitzcarraldo is out finally on Blu-ray from Shout Factory.
Wait, now, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Has this thing never been out on Blu-ray?
Never been on Blu-ray.
That is bizarre.
Isn't that amazing?
Huh.
I know. There's a lot of stuff that's never been on Blu-ray. I mean, it's crazy when you look at the list of stuff. And so here we have Fitzcarraldo finally, thanks to Shout Factory. God bless him.
Absolutely. You know what?
Fitzcarraldo, man.
Okay, if Shout Factory...
He moves a ship. He moves a freaking ship.
If Shout...
And not only did the real guy move a ship, they moved a ship in the movie.
Yes, they did.
This is Apocalypse Now level madness in the jungle.
I wish that they had packaged
Les Blank made a movie about this.
I was going to say, I wish they had packaged this with Burden of Dreams.
Burden of Dreams is its own movie, though. That's a rights issue. But anyway, great audio commentary with Werner Herzog and producer Luki Stipicic, if I pronounce that correctly, moderated by Norman Hill. Fantastic. And then another audio commentary with Werner Herzog, moderated by Lawrence Straub, which is a German commentary. There are subtitles for it, so it's a little tricky to listen and watch that commentary, but it's good nonetheless. And in other words, that's it. But still, a great Blu-ray, beautiful transfer, and a fantastic movie. And here's what we got recently from Criterion. Criterion has been knocking it out of the park. Their recent announcements are it's like this company is the gold standard, man. They really are. They're so well run. They do such good work.
And they also they went viral recently when they posted Matthew McConaughey's auditions for Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, pretty great.
Good stuff.
And we should be getting the cartoon soon, right? The cartoon that they do for all the New Year releases.
Ooh, that's right. You have to decipher the clues.
Yeah. Sweet. Can't wait for that. Okay. Anyway, this is Les Blank, Always for Pleasure, from 1968 through 1995. Now, Les Blank is one of the great documentarians of all time, and of course, did Burden of Dreams, which we just mentioned. And this is an incredible 3 Blu-ray thing of all of his, it's just his work from the last quarter century. I mean, it's really extraordinary. And we have very little time left, but you got to check this out. If you're a fan of Les Blank or a fan of documentaries, this is it's a wonderful trip through his head and his sensibilities and the things he finds interesting in the world. It's great. It's a wonderful tribute to a documentarian. We have an Eclipse line set. We haven't had an Eclipse series in a long time, and this is Eclipse Series 41, Kinoshita and World War II, including the films Port of Flowers, The Living Magoroku, Jubilation Street Army, Mourning for the Osone Family. Kazuki Kinoshita is one of those Japanese directors that got overshadowed by a lot of the other new wave directors. He's from the 1940s, kind of the same era as Mizoguchi. The Japanese new wave came and then just kind of took all the wind out of a lot of these guys. And then Kurosawa is really the only one that sort of stood the test of time internationally. But these are some really interesting films. All of them basically about just regular Japanese life, and they're really good. And all of them made during the very, very difficult World War II period. And most of Kurosawa's stuff from that period, by the way, it's all propaganda. Not very good. And one of them is even lost. Can you believe that? There's a Kurosawa film that we don't have. How weird is that?
I have it.
And then lastly, here are the 5 most recent Criterion sets. Finally got Tootsie many weeks late. For some reason, there was a manufacturing delay on this, but this is just frickin'. I love this movie.
It's the best.
I mean, how great is this? They basically took Some Like It Hot, a Billy Wilder movie that's nearly perfect, and they made it into something that's just as good, if not better. It's amazing. I mean, Larry Gelbart and Sidney Pollack just sat down and they just killed it. And this was the year of Gandhi and E.T. and The Verdict. I mean, this was an amazing year, 1982.
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray. That is one nutty hospital. That's just my... That's so...
You know that was an ad-lib.
Of course it was. You get the Sidney Pollack commentary. Late Sidney Pollack, obviously recorded before he passed. Interviews with Dustin Hoffman and Phil Rosenthal. An interview with Hoffman as Dorothy Michaels by Gene Shalit, which is priceless. It is priceless. Gene Shalit, come on.
Gene Shalit!
That mustache, it's fantastic. You get The Making of Tootsie and A Better Man, The Making of Tootsie, 2 different documentaries from 1982 and 2007. Everything about this is wonderful. I shouldn't have to sell this. You also get Preston Sturges' The Palm Beach Story, which is from 1942. And
Criterion's coming out with a bunch of Preston Sturges stuff.
Well, they've always had a lot of Preston Sturges stuff.
Well, I have a DVD set, not Criterion, a DVD set of Preston Sturges films.
True.
It's great because it's all the Preston Sturges classics. Sullivan's Travels, and all in one little beautiful box set. I'm really tempted to keep that and not get the individual Blu-rays. Because it's a nice little beautiful box set all there.
That's a tough call. I'm not going to help you with that one. There aren't a ton of extras here on this, but there don't need to be. It's the Palm Beach Story. It's hilarious. It's wonderful. It's Joel McRae and Claudette Colbert. They're a married couple, and their marriage is falling apart, and then everything goes nuts in Florida. It's fantastic. Guy Madden, really an acquired taste.
I like him.
If you are a completist for Criterion, you're going to want to get My Winnipeg, which was high in our awards voting, if I remember too, about 5 years ago.
Because it's cool.
Yeah,
Andy Klein loves this guy.
Yeah, well, Guy Madden, because he shoots every movie on black and white 8mm stock that was from
dragged through the mud or something.
Dragged through the mud and then plowed over by stampeding horses, and then he projects it with the sound out of sync, and everyone goes, "Ooh, it's amazing!"
No, come on, there's more to it than that.
There is more to it. My Winnipeg, of course, he's from Winnipeg. Guy Madden is, and he doesn't really leave Winnipeg. He's just kind of a guy that makes movies weird little retro movies in his home province of Canada, which to Canadians is Canadians don't even know that Winnipeg is one of their provinces. It's like us and Maine or something. I don't know. It's really
Delaware.
People come from there.
People live in Delaware.
People live there. Yeah. But it really, this is it's very, very sweet, and it's his movies are just unusual. But My Winnipeg may be the most kind of emotionally affectionate of his movies.
He's cool.
Yeah, and then The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant is another one of the Fassbinder films that Criterion keeps getting. These things were released by Wellspring years ago when there still was a Wellspring. And then they all went out of print, and the DVDs were selling online for $150, crazy stuff like that. Oh yeah, it's going to be out of print forever. Are you nuts? It'll be on Blu-ray eventually. Hold your horses and just wait.
Oh come on,
seriously. Sure enough.
Okay, you know what Blu-ray I'm waiting for?
Huh?
The Killers and Hard Boiled. Hard Boiled.
Well, the Killer is on Blu-ray.
It is?
Yeah.
Domestic Blu-ray.
Domestic Blu-ray. I'll go over that with you. It's a little complicated.
How about Hard Boiled?
Hard Boiled. I recommend the imports. Frankly.
Can I play them?
Yes, you have to go.
Is it Region 1?
It's non-region. It's multi-region, but it is NTSC. But there's a whole ton. It gets very complicated.
I'm just saying they need a Hard Boiled and the Killer.
Look,
superset of excitement.
Drunken Master 2 has never been on DVD or on Blu-ray. What's up with that? Seriously, give me a break. So anyway, The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, fantastic Werner Herzog, fantastic Rainer Werner Fassbinder film from 1972. This is a beautiful restoration, fantastic transfer, so much better than the previous DVD. Michael Ballhaus, of course, shot this, who would later go on to do Raging Bull. His son, Michael Ballhaus, is now a cinematographer as well. Florian Ballhaus, thank you. Florian Ballhaus is now a cinematographer as well. We're into that second generation, right? Like the Cronenweths.
The Cronenweths,
and
that's
the Ballhauses.
yeah.
There's like, the sons are now carrying the torch. Even our friend Lloyd, right? Lloyd Ahern, you know.
Wait, who's Lloyd's?
Lloyd's dad was the cinematographer for Miracle on 34th Street.
Really?
You didn't know that?
No.
Lloyd was the clapper boy on all those movies.
Really?
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah. So anyway, The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant is probably one of the best Fassbinder films. It's very very Douglas Sirk-like, obviously with a little bit of a tweak in it, and it's I hate to call it a gay film because it's not. It is about a lesbian relationship, but don't let that kind of make you think that it deserves to be ghettoized into the gay film thing. It's mainstream. This is Fassbinder, and it really deserves to be seen by everybody. And then La Ciénaga, the Lucretia Martel film from 2001, is also absolutely outstanding. There's an interview with Andres Ditella about Martel on this, and that's just about all that you get. There's also obviously the booklet and all that stuff. But Martel was considered one of the really big new talents at that time. Hasn't really done a whole lot since that has kept her on the map. But La Ciénaga, nonetheless, is a beautiful Argentine film, and one of the best films from a period that saw an awful lot of really great Argentine films. And they've slowed down a little bit, but Argentina still has a thriving film industry, so we should see some great stuff from there before long as well. They won an Oscar a few years ago for that thing of theirs that they did, that procedural,
that thing of theirs that they did,
that kind of Law and Ordery thing that I forget about. Anyway. All right, Mark, we're done. It's a good long show to come back with the year. We will be back next week. Email us at gods@digigods.com. Send us emails.
Oscar Pool, Wade. Plug the Oscar Pool.
Vox boxes. We want Vox boxes. So send us your audio files. Don't be shy. Send us audio files. Ask us questions about any old thing. We'll put you on the show. We'll make you famous. And email us at gods@digigods.com. And then also go and enroll at funofficepools.com. Funofficepools.com. Go and sign up there. Get into the group The Digigods, THE space Digigods, and use the password Lars von Trier, all one word, all lowercase, Lars von Trier, and get going in the Oscar pool. I am putting together what will hopefully be the swag package of all swag packages for whoever
don't make
wins
promises you can't keep.
It'll be great. You'll have a whole bunch of movies with Dan Stevens playing psycho killers and heroin addicts.
Oh, you know what? It'll be. You know what? The swag package will be nothing but Millennium films.
It will. It's exactly what it'll be. All right. We'll do good stuff. We'll see you next week.